All remaining systems will bow to the First Order! And will remember this as the last day of the Republic!
The end of the Cold War came when the First Order tracked down Lor San Tekka on the planet Jakku with the intention of seizing the last piece of the map and locate Luke Skywalker. Resistance pilot Poe Dameron, who had arrived beforehand, entrusted the map with his astromech droid BB-8 before a strike force led by Kylo Ren and Captain Phasma attacked Toal Village. Lor San Tekka and the villagers are executed, and Poe Dameron is captured and brought for interrogation on the resurgent Star Destroyer Finalizer, flagship of Kylo Ren and Armitage Hux. Poe is unable to keep the information of the map being in BB-8's possession from Kylo Ren's Force probe, but is later rescued by a defecting stormtrooper, FN-2187, disillusioned by the brutality by the First Order forces that attacked Toal Village. They steal a Special Forces TIE, but are shot down and sent crashing into Jakku. Poe and FN-2187, later named Finn, are separated, but Finn later encounters BB-8 along with the local scavenger Rey. They are pursued by a First Order surveillance squad that was sent earlier to survey the TIE wreckage, but are able to escape on the stolen Millennium Falcon, destroying their air support and escaping into space. Suspecting the droid would be in the hands of the Resistance, General Hux argued to Supreme Leader Snoke in favor of using Starkiller Base to destroy the capital of the New Republic, the Hosnian system. Believing that without their assistance, the Resistance would no longer be a threat. Believing the time to execute conquest of the galaxy had come, Snoke agrees and allows Hux to oversee preparations. Snoke then spoke to Ren about sensing an awakening in the Force, before stating that he sensed BB-8 is aboard the Millennium Falcon, in the hands of Ren's father, Han Solo. Snoke orders Ren to kill his father to overcome his temptation by the light. When the weapon was ready, Hux addressed the legions of stormtroopers under his command that assembled to witness the destructive firepower of Starkiller Base. The superweapon fired a blast of phantom energy, tearing a hole in hyperspace along a perfectly linear path until it reached its target. The capital of the Republic, along with the Galactic Senate and the home fleet of the New Republic Defense Fleet, were reduced to ashes. The destruction of the Hosnian system was visible on distant worlds, from Takodana to Vardos. With the information on the astromech BB-8's location confirmed by First Order spy Bazine Natel, a strike force led by Kylo Ren assaulted Maz Kanata's castle in Takodana with the intent of capturing the droid. While the Master of the Knights of Ren went off with a handful of stormtroopers in pursuit of BB-8 and Rey, Finn, Han Solo, and the Wookiee Chewbacca are apprehended by the First Order stormtroopers. The First Order victory was short-lived as they, along with their air support, were ambushed by a squadron of Resistance X-Wings led by the ace pilot Poe Dameron. Kylo Ren captures Rey, gaining some insight of the map from the girl via Force probe. Notified of the resistant forces, Kylo orders the division to withdraw, taking Rey with them back to Starkiller Base, with the belief that Rey's memories contain knowledge of the location of Skywalker. Ren attempts to gain the location of Skywalker from Rey once again by Force probe. Rey, however, resisted Ren and turns the mental probe onto him. Surprised by this, Ren came to the conclusion that Rey was a Force sensitive. However, unbeknownst to them at the time, Rey and Kylo had formed a prophesized Force dyad. Ren then addressed to Snoke that Rey was strong with the Force despite being untrained. After being informed that due to Ren's decision, BB-8 was able to escape, concerned that the Resistance might have the full map to Skywalker, Snoke orders Hux to unleash the Starkiller weapon against the Resistant base on the planet Dakar. Ren swore that he could still find the map in Rey's mind as long as he had his master's guidance, so the Supreme Leader ordered Rey to be brought to him. Rey manages to break out of the interrogation cell by mind-tricking the guarding stormtrooper, learning after her Force connection with Ren per the Force dyad, much to the chagrin of Kylo Ren, who in his rage destroys the interrogation room. Meanwhile, Iden Versio, along with her daughter Zay Versio and Shriv Sergav of Infernal Squadron, infiltrates the Resurgent-class Star Destroyer Retribution to retrieve intelligence on the First Order. The trio soon found schematics for the Mandator IV class Siege Dreadnought. While Shriv finds a way out, Iden and Zay went on to destroy the hyperdrive so they could escape. They are confronted by Hask. Iden is mortally wounded, but she manages to shoot Hask, who falls into the hyperdrive core to his death. Using information provided by a reconnaissance mission and the defected stormtrooper, Finn, the Resistance plot to launch a strike against the First Order superweapon before it could fire at their location. After bypassing the shield via hyperspace, Han, Chewbacca and Finn captured Captain Phasma and forced her into deactivating the shields. Rather than dying in loyalty to the First Order, Phasma disabled the shields in an act of saving her own life, as the former Captain Cardinal had previously warned. With the shield down, the Resistance launched their attack on Starkiller Base, but despite their efforts to destroy the thermal oscillator, no visible damage was made. They are soon attacked by every TIE squadron. After reuniting with Rey, Finn, Han, and Chewbacca realized the Resistance squadrons needed assistance, and decided to create an opening by planting thermal detonators inside the base. After Han and Chewie split up to plant the explosives, Kylo Ren arrives with a squadron of stormtroopers. Han then confronted Kylo Ren on a bridge over a large pit, pleading with his son to reject Snoke and return to the light side of the Force. However, Ren refused and impaled his father with his lightsaber as Finn, Rey, and Chewbacca looked on. An enraged Chewbacca injures Ren with his bowcaster before proceeding to shoot down several stormtroopers. Chewbacca then detonated the explosives, which created an opening for the base's thermal oscillator. This allows Poe Dameron to destroy it from within, causing the planet to break apart from the energy drained earlier. Finn and Rey are confronted by Kylo Ren, which Ren knocks the ladder off with a force push to a nearby tree. Finn engages Ren in a saber duel using Anakin's lightsaber that Maz intended to give to Rey, but was overpowered and defeated easily. Ren tries to grab the saber with the Force afterward, but the weapon flew into the hand of Rey instead. The two would do battle with each other, ending with Rey landing a severe wound to Ren's face before the two were separated by the rupturing planet. Meanwhile, having been thrown into a garbage compactor by Han, Chewie, and Finn, Phasma escaped and erased any records of her involvement in the incident, discovering that Lieutenant Saul Rivas had accessed the terminal, and in doing so learned about Phasma's treason. Phasma approaches pilot TV-3465, who was unable to join the dogfight due to her droid BB-K-8 performing a data update on her fighter. Phasma orders the pilot to follow Rivas in a Special Forces TIE fighter, pursuing the lieutenant away from the doomed planet. As General Hux, by order of Snoke, rescues Kylo Ren, Rey and Finn were rescued by the Millennium Falcon, piloted by Chewbacca, joining up with the remaining Resistance fleet, escaping Starkiller Base's destruction as it became a binary, later named Solo in Hans' memory. Meanwhile, Iden and Zay detonated the charges and destroys the Retribution's hyperdrive, pulling the ship out of hyperspace just in time to witness Starkiller Base's destruction. Iden dies from her blaster wound, and Zay and Shriv head off to Dakar with the schematics. Captain Phasma later discovered Lieutenant Saul Rivas on the planet Lupara, where she killed him along with TV-3465 and BB-K-8 in order to ensure any knowledge of her treachery would be lost. She later rejoins General Hux on the Finalizer. As Rey, Chewbacca, and the astromech R2-D2 head off in search for Luke Skywalker, the Resistance begins an evacuation of the planet Dakar, aware of the First Order discovering their location prior to the destruction of Starkiller Base. Their escape was interrupted by the arrival of a trio of resurgent Star Destroyers, including the Finalizer, and a Man-Hater 4 class siege dreadnought, Fulminatrix. With the schematics provided by Infernal Squad, a strike force led by Poe Dameron was able to destroy the dreadnought, unfortunately suffering losses. Snoke makes his anger in Hux clear by using the Force to painfully humiliate the general, but is delighted when Hux reveals a way to locate the fleet by hyperspace tracking, allowing the First Order to pinpoint their location. Immediately after his audience with Hux aboard the Supremacy, Snoke berates his disgraced apprentice, furious that killing his father had split Ren's soul, causing him to lose to someone who never held a lightsaber. Snoke's taunts cause Ren to attempt an attack on him, but Snoke knocks him away with Force Lightning. Snoke then chastises Ren out of the throne room, telling him that he was a child with a mask, instead of the successor to Darth Vader. Snoke chose to reveal himself and his flagship to the unsuspecting galaxy when he deploys a fleet of resurgent Star Destroyers, including his flagship, the Supremacy, to the Resistance current location. Kylo Ren takes part of the assault in his TIE silencer, destroying a majority of Resistant fighters when he fired torpedoes into the hangar bay of the Mon Calamari 85 cruiser, Raddus. Ren hesitates on destroying the Raddus's bridge, refusing to fire on his mother, General Organa. His wingmen went on the attack, destroying the bridge, killing several of Resistance Command, including Gail Akbar. General Leia survives the attack, but is incapacitated due to using the Force to survive the vacuum of space and returning to the Raddus, due to her Force training with Luke prior to her years in the New Republic Senate. Resistance Command falls into Vice Admiral Holdo, whose pursuit and insistence on secrecy led her into conflict with Dameron. Shut off from her plan, Dameron devises a plan of his own with Finn and Resistance tactician Rose to disable the Supremacy's hyperspace tracker so that the Resistance fleet could escape without being tracked. When contacting Maz Kanata with the intent of finding a master codebreaker, she points them to Canto Bight, a casino city on Cantonica. Finn, Rose, and BB-8 head off to Canto Bight to find the codebreaker that would aid them in disabling the Mega Star Destroyer's hyperspace tracker. Rey, R2, and Chewbacca manages to locate Luke on Ahch-To, but refuses to return to help or to teach Rey, believing the galaxy is better off without the interference of the Jedi, having cut himself off from the Force. Rey begins to have numerous Force bond connections with Kylo Ren, a result of their Force dyad. As Ren learns about Rey's determination to learn of her parents' whereabouts, Rey learns Ren's skills in lightsaber combat. During one of their Force connections, Ren explains to her of the night he was confronted by Luke, albeit from his point of view. Desperate and with no one to turn to, Rey develops a bond with Ren, believing that there is still good in him. Luke connects with the Force, sensing his sister from across the galaxy. Convincing going back to the Resistance, Luke goes off to find Rey, but discovers her talking to Ren through the Force by their Force bond and demands she leaves. After a brief fight, Rey demanded the truth of the night Luke confronted Ben. Luke reveals that he, for a brief moment, did desire to kill Ben after sensing darkness within his nephew. Rey seeks Kylo Ren out on the Supremacy with the belief that Ben will turn, despite Luke stating otherwise. Prior to her departure, she steals the Ancient Jedi text from the Ancient Jedi Temple to teach herself later. In the 18 hours of the chase, the majority of the Resistance fleet was reduced to the Raddus. Despite not being able to find the Master Codebreaker on Canto Bight, Finn, Rose, and BB-8 did found a moral codebreaker, DJ, who managed to get them aboard the Supremacy. Their attempts were foiled when they were captured by Captain Phasma, while a recovered Leia stuns Poe. Vice Admiral Holdo stays behind on the Raddus, while Leia, Poe, and the rest of the Resistance head for the planet Crait, knowing the First Order would not detect their smaller escape ships. Rey surrenders herself and is brought to Snoke by Ren. Snoke brags that he himself was responsible for forging the Force bond between the both of them, in order to lure Rey here and gain the whereabouts of Luke Skywalker. Deeming Rey a threat, Snoke wanted Rey dead, as he viewed her as the rejuvenation of the Jedi Order. Angered by being used, Kylo Ren betrays and kills Snoke by using the Force to bisect him with Luke's lightsaber. After disposing of Snoke's guards, Kylo offers Rey to join him, revealing her parents sold her off before dying in the Jakku Desert. Rey rejects Ren's offer, refusing to renounce her allegiance to the light. Meanwhile, Finn and Rose are betrayed by DJ when he reveals the Resistance plan in exchange for money. General Hux orders for the remaining ships to be destroyed, while Phasma sought to carry out Finn and Rose's execution. Seeing her comrades being destroyed ship by ship, Vice Admiral Holdo sacrifices her life by sending the Raddus into hyperspace, right into the First Order fleet, severing a wing from the Supremacy and destroying a number of resurgent Star Destroyers. In the aftermath of the collision, Phasma falls to her death after a fight with Finn when the surface of the Supremacy's hangar gave way beneath her. Finn, Rose, and BB-8 escape in a First Order light shuttle. Rey spares Ren and escapes the ship aboard Snoke's escape shuttle. Kylo Ren places Snoke's murder on Rey before assuming the role of Supreme Leader by force. He then orders all remaining military forces to the planet, determined to bring a decisive end to the war. As General Leia calls upon any allies in the Outer Rim territories for reinforcements, the First Order, now under the leadership of Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, deploys their own forces, including a super laser siege cannon. The Resistance set up their defenses while Paul leads a squadron of 13 VXD ski speeders to take out the super laser. Rey and Chewbacca arrive on the battlefield, drawing away the ties with the Millennium Falcon. Despite that, the Resistance suffered heavy losses, picked off by the 10 AT-M6s and the 2 AT-ATs. With the battering ram preparing to fire, Poe orders the remaining craft to withdraw. Finn, however, disobeys the order and attempted a suicide run to destroy the super laser. Rose crashed her speeder into Finn's, preventing him from what would have been a futile effort and saving his life. After the battering ram punched through the main doors of the base, Kylo Ren ordered his forces to advance, refusing to take prisoners. To Ren's surprise, Jedi Master Luke Skywalker appeared on the battlefield, distracting the First Order and allowing the remnants of the Resistance to escape aboard the Millennium Falcon. It was by dueling the Jedi Master that Ren realized that Luke had force projected himself from afar on Ahch-To. The strain of the force projection takes a toll on his health. Luke Skywalker passes away, becoming one with the Force. The Battle of Crait would be a tactical victory for the First Order, but a strategic victory for the Resistance, as they plan on rebuilding their forces. Before leaving the planet, Rey has another Force connection with Ren, but eventually shuts him off, much to his dismay. Even though the First Order was unable to destroy the Resistance at Crait, any allies in the Outer Rim didn't respond to Leia's call, either to interference from the First Order or out of fear of the regime's might. Despite the destruction of Starkiller Base and the loss of the Supremacy, the First Order's conquest of the galaxy had begun. With the New Republic in pieces, and its senators dissolving their task forces in effort to protect their home worlds, the First Order seized military control on various worlds. Some planetary leaders, such as King Surak of Pastora, acknowledged the overwhelming might of the regime and refused to stand up. Planets such as Mon Cala, Yavin, Lothal, and Corellia fell into First Order occupation. Conflicts ensued throughout the galaxy, including the pursuit of a mobile aircraft refueling station, the Colossus, that resulted in the deaths of Major Elliot von Reg, Commander Pyre, and First Order Security Bureau Tierney, as well as the destruction of the resurgent Star Destroyer, Thunderer. On the planet Batuu, Vi Moriarty and Cardinal, now known as Archex, work to set up a new resistance base. They are discovered by the First Order, but Archex sacrifices his life to keep the presence of the resistance on Batuu secret. Despite Archex's sacrifice, a fleet of resurgent Star Destroyers arrives sometime afterward. The resistance flees from the planet, but not before severely crippling the Finalizer. With his resurgent Star Destroyer heavily damaged, Supreme Leader Kylo Ren transfers command to a Legion General Pride's ship, the Steadfast, retiring the Finalizer's role as the main flagship of the First Order. Ren would also form the Supreme Council out of various members of the First Order, including a Legion General Pride and General Hux. By having Hux serve under Pride, Ren believed this would give him little independent authority. The Resistance would gather allies from the Mon Calamari, including son of Gaio Akbar, Adith Akbar, while fighting the First Order to liberate a Bacta production plant on Tavel. The First Order sought to punish anyone who aided the Resistance in violent fashion. Ta-Nua was ravaged by a fleet of 17 resurgent Star Destroyers and a Man-Ada 4-class siege dreadnought. A Fondor Shipyard's crew member was executed for being in contact with the Resistance, putting the shipyards under First Order control. Having sensed the awakening in the Force, it would stand to reason that Palpatine not only renewed his intention of making Rey a primary host candidate to transfer his consciousness, but would view her clashes with Ren as tests to see who would be the worthy candidate for his spirit transfer, much like how he tested Vader in the past whenever there was a moment of weakness. Regardless of who survives, it would be of no consequence to Palpatine. Despite Snoke's claims of forging a Force connection between Rey and Ben, they maintained that connection after his death. It could prove very much that Snoke was lying, as Rey and Ren had already forged a Force dyad from their encounter at Starkiller Base. With the New Republic in pieces, the Resistance weakened, any opposition to his plans eliminated, and most of the galaxy under First Order control, Darth Sidious prepares to initiate the final phase of his contingency.